Now you see, Sony, back in 2007 after Spider-Man 3, which you ruined, not Sam Raimi, if you would have gave him control of the movie, I guarantee you Sam Raimi would have made a way better movie than Spider-Man 3 and probably would have made an awesome Spider-Man 4. But no, Sony did not let him take control. Marvel, on the other hand, they let him take control. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness stars Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen is about Dr. Stephen Strange casts a forbidden spell that opens a portal to the multiverse. However, a threat emerges that may be too big for his team to handle. This is a non-spoiler review. There will be no spoilers whatsoever, I promise you guys. Going in this movie, I was really hyped for one man only, Sam Raimi. His first Evil Dead is a huge inspiration for me. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So when they announced him as the director after Scott Derrickson left, I was like, I'm sad, but we upgraded because we got Sam freaking Raimi. The Spider-Man original trilogy, Spider-Man 1 and 2 are awesome movies. So I was really hyped to see him back in the director's chair for a big budget superhero movie. Starting off with my positives is, of course, Sam Raimi's direction. As a huge Sam Raimi fan, watching this movie, I could just tell you it's a Sam Raimi movie. This man has horror in his bones, and whatever he does, he's gonna infuse that. And in this movie, a Marvel superhero Doctor Strange movie, it is a semi-horror film, no joke. This is definitely probably the bloodiest Marvel movie we've ever seen. And for what Marvel has always done, they've always had a basics of what their movie is. The Marvel humor, action, drama, all that. They have their basics, whatever. This movie had a different type of style, and that is Sam Raimi. He brings something fresh to this movie. It feels different from other movies, the darker tone. It, of course, has your Marvel humor, your Marvel comedy, stuff like that. But what deep down this movie is, there are moments that are actually scary. Like, I will honestly say there is good imagery in this movie that's like, that is freaking creepy. The performances alone are great. Benedict Cumberbatch should be talked about a lot. I feel like he's not going to, even though this movie, deep down, it's a Doctor Strange movie. Like, I will give it credit. I was worried this movie was just too much of a sequel to WandaVision, What If, stuff, all this kind of stuff. No, this movie sticks to a Doctor Strange sequel, and I respect that. And he's great in this movie. Benedict Cumberbatch is great as Doctor Strange, and in this movie there are different versions of him that we see in the trailer that we get to see, and he is just really good in this movie. He is so good. But the scene stealer is Wanda, Elizabeth Olsen. I mean, her character got so well developed in WandaVision, and this movie is basically part 2 to that series. And she is flat out amazing, and I honestly can say now she is probably the most interesting character in the MCU. This movie just adds more to her character as Wanda Maximoff, and it is just glorious, scary, and just heartbreaking. And I love her as a character, and this movie does her justice in all aspects. Now, when I did work at the movie theater, a lot of the general audiences did talk about the 2-hour and 6-minute runtime, how they were saying, wow, that is pretty short. And I told everyone, I was like, listen, he did Spider-Man 2, which is basically the same runtime. I'm not worried about this runtime. But after watching this movie, I truly think 20 minutes would have helped this movie. The first 20-30 minutes of this movie, it's really getting going. It felt like a Marvel movie for sure. And at first, it was being your very Marvel humor, setting stuff up, and we get right into it. I mean, we get straight into the madness at that point. And when that happens, from that point to the very end, the movie progressively gets crazier, scarier, and a little bit bloodier, if you ask me, which is not a bad thing, which it gets the movie more enjoyable by the end of it. By the end of it, I was deeply just loving what I was watching, but at first, it was a little, like, getting going, and once it gets going, it was really enthralling, and I couldn't stop watching because I was just such a fan of the camera work and Danny Elfman's score. Oh my goodness, there is a fight scene that involves the music, and it is so damn good. But let's get more into the negatives. Like I said, the first 30 minutes, it does get its time to get going, and I wish in that time period we had more time. That first 30 minutes could have been the first 50 minutes, and it would have gave more character moments to certain characters. Prime example, America Chavez is her character's name, brand new character. I knew very little about this character, and after this movie, I still feel like she's very underwhelmed in this movie. She's definitely a side character that does feel important, but to me, by the end of it, I really did not care for her character. That's just me, though. People that might love her character from the comics might really like her. By the end of this movie, though, I was like, oh yeah, you're important for the future. You're important for this movie, so I understand your reasoning, but like, I never fell in love with you as a character, and I feel like when they first meet her, we could have seen her power, introduce her, and get a little more extra time with her because it would have helped a lot, because she definitely is important. Rachel McAdams returns from the first movie, another character I feel like that is in this movie that does serve a purpose. I think they could have worked with her a lot more in certain aspects. Again, I'm trying not to be spoiler at all. There's something in this movie that's happening to her as a character that I feel like could have been more important to Doctor Strange. That as a character, it would have been more effective in other scenes in this movie. But by the end of it, I can tell what they're doing. I just feel like they could have actually made this movie longer. There are stuff in this movie that definitely feels like it's just like compact, like it needs to be a 3-minute scene, but we need to get to these big surprises and big moments, which, again, no spoilers, there are surprises, and I think a lot of the rumors and a lot of the hype for this movie is those rumors, and like I said in the beginning of the review, calm them down. I'm telling you, do not go in this movie thinking cameo palooza. Do not think that. Do not think this movie is full of cameos. There are good surprises. Do not worry. There are moments you're like, oh, and you're smiling and happy, and you're like, oh my goodness. But don't, just calm down. That's all I'm gonna say, because like I said, that happened to me. I'm gonna be honest. I felt underwhelmed. This movie does at times feel like stepping stones to the next Marvel movie, but by the end of this movie, I sat there and I said to myself, does this movie even feel like a Doctor Strange movie? It does, and I feel like by the end of it, the overwhelming multiverse of madness doesn't really affect so much in the universe as much as you would think it would. Overall, this review is really hard to do without spoiling anything. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and my biggest praise is Sam Raimi. I mean, he made a horror Marvel film, and I am happy that Marvel let it happen. This is a most different Marvel movie that I know a lot of families love Marvel movies. I'm telling you, your kids might get scared of some of these big CGI monsters or imagery that they do, and it does have some blood in this movie. I will be honest with you. There are some blood in this movie. I'm like, good job, Marvel. It's definitely there, and I was loving it. But some of the issues does with my pacing, characters, and sometimes, like I said, the horror aspects and the Marvel comedy. There's a time where it flows perfectly, and there's times in the beginning where it does not go together as smoothly as I wanted it to. And once again, just calm down the cameos, be happy for the surprises, but do not expect everything you read on the internet. That's all I'm gonna say. But I do think this movie is so different from other Marvel movies that I really enjoyed a lot of this movie, and I am very excited to see it again. I will give Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness a B. Also, those mid-credit scenes, I'm gonna be honest with you, they're fine, and I could honestly see people saying they're not that good or probably horrible, honestly, but I think they were fine if you ask me. But again, I could see this movie being a little diverse for the fans, honestly, and I had a fun time with this movie. I would say this movie is an awesome time if you ask me. And again, you're talking to a person that is a big fan of Sam Raimi, so I might be a little biased. This movie might get pooped on. I haven't talked to anyone about this movie, so who knows? It comes out this Friday, and again, no spoilers in the comments. Don't you dare spoil this movie for anyone. Please don't be that person. So I hope you guys had a great time for this early review. Hope you go see it this weekend, and I can't wait to talk more about it. Love you guys. See you on the next one. Bye-bye, everyone.